Hello and welcome to another TLDR US video, the fourth in our series evaluating the first term in office of President Donald J. Trump and whether the president stuck to his 2016 promises. The first of three looking at Trump's America First attitude as part of his foreign policy. And in this video, we'll be taking a look at his promises on international trade and to get America winning again. As with the other videos in the series, we'll take a look at the initial promise, whether it's been successfully delivered, the potential defence for why it perhaps hasn't come to fruition, any future commitments that the Trump campaign has made on the issue, and finally, what Joe Biden and the Democratic stance is. If you want to check out the other videos in this series, then be sure to click the link to the full playlist in the description. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when we release new videos. Thanks for your support. One of Trump's key promises was in relation to China's perceived currency manipulation, which, if true, would give them an unfair advantage in trade, as it would make US goods less valuable relative to Chinese goods. Before becoming president, Trump made clear that on his first day in office, as one of his first acts as leader of the free world, he would designate China as a currency manipulator. While this is really just a label and doesn't actually mean much for trade, it would certainly lead to increased tension and a fractious relationship between the two global superpowers. Trump has also committed, as part of the protectionist platform he ran on, to increase tariffs on other countries in order to support American businesses. These tariffs will be mainly placed on goods from China, as part of measures to protect US industry from consumers preferring cheaper Chinese imports. But tariffs would also be placed on Mexico and other states. Trump also had gripes with multilateral international trade deals, particularly being against the North American Free Trade Agreement and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Mr. Trump grimly described the TPP as a rape of our country, showing his clear ill towards it. And, linked to our previous video where we discussed manufacturing, he felt that NAFTA was responsible for job losses in that important sector. By consequence, he committed to either withdrawing from or reviewing these deals.
And I think Justin understands this. If we can't make a deal, it'll be terminated and that'll be fun. They're going to do well, we're going to do well, but maybe that won't be necessary. But it has to be fair to both countries. It's possible we won't be able to reach a deal with one or the other. But in the meantime, we'll make a deal with one. But I think we have a chance to do something very creative that's good for Canada, Mexico, and the United States.
So, there were the promises. But has the Trump administration actually delivered on them? Well, in April 2017, Trump backtracked on his accusation that China is a currency manipulator, relaxing fears of a trade war. However, in August 2019, China was in fact formally designated as a currency manipulator by the Federal Reserve. But this didn't last long though, as the charge was dropped in early 2020. Beyond this specific section of US-China relations, there has been a more general and massively destructive trade war between the two countries. In January 2020, the US placed tariffs on $360 billion worth of Chinese goods, and China enacted $100 billion worth on US goods. This clearly went a bit far in the eyes of both, as in that same month, there was some cooling of the tension in the signing of a new trade deal. Despite this, many sanctions remained. Tariffs on Mexico were also a big issue though. In June 2019, Trump announced tariffs against Mexico because of anger at what the administration felt was Mexico's lack of control over migration into the US, showing how interlinked social issues are with the economy. Days later, however, these were withdrawn, as Trump felt satisfied that Mexico would cooperate better. Strangely, insiders have suggested that Mexico already agreed to Trump's demands long before the tariffs were announced, begging the question as to whether this was just a PR stunt. But that doesn't actually really affect what we're talking about here. On the multilateral free trade deals, well, Trump was vicious. NAFTA was quickly targeted and only this year replaced by the concisely named United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Come on guys, you can be a bit more imaginative than that. This deal is quite different from NAFTA and mandates things such as increased automobile protection in the countries, better IP rights, although it's suggested that these were already in the TPP, and it makes it easier for US drug companies to sell in the other countries. The aforementioned TPP was binned by the US before it could ever come into force. On the whole though, looking at these promises, it seems that Trump has already been pretty successful in delivering on them. There may have been some slight failures and some points of contention, but on the whole, he implemented what he said he would, and achieved some of his key aims, regardless of how you feel about their effects. For 2020, in the campaign for a second term, President Trump has pledged to enact fair trade deals that protect American jobs, thus combining our two topics of conversation for today. As with the majority of incumbents running for re-election, Mr. Trump is going for a more of the same approach, sticking with most of the same policies that won him the presidency in 2016. China will continue to be targeted, and protectionist trade policies will be carried out, in order to, theoretically at least, keep US jobs alive, and hopefully thriving. But what does Biden say? It is fair to say that Biden and Trump are quite far apart on their attitude to the rest of the world. The challenger has long been a proponent of free trade, taking a globalist approach in comparison to Trump's inward-looking ways and protectionism. The fact that, according to GALLUP, 79% of Americans see trade as an opportunity as opposed to a threat probably favours Biden. In the first presidential debate, Biden was critical of the president's policies towards China, highlighting the increased trade deficit the US has with its rival, claiming that rather than Trump succeeding in the art of the deal, China has perfected the art of the steal. Very punny there, Joe. This indicates that he would be looking to change the way the US operates with China, and he's actually claimed that he'd revoke Trump's tariffs on the country upon taking office, a claim which his campaign quickly changed to, he will review, although insiders seem to reckon that he won't change anything at all. Despite him being more open on trade, Biden is still prioritising the US and will demand investment into the country before engaging in trade deals. So, what do you think? Let us know in the comments how you feel Trump has done in living up to the promises he made in 2016, and what you think about the alternative. As always, check back for more videos in this series, as we have a couple more coming your way before polling day. Also, be sure to go back and watch the first 3 on the wall, draining the swamp, and the economy. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when videos are released in the future. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name listed at the end of the videos, then be sure to back us on Patreon. The link to that's in the description.